my husband when I was 16. He was actually a friend of my brother's. We dated for 3 years and got married when I was 19, and then we started working at the same place. We were married first, and then we started working at the same place. And as I said, we had nothing. We were just typical employees. I made $5,000 and he made $9,000, so our total income was $14,000 a year. $14,000 a year. That doesn't seem right, does it? But it was, and we could only afford a $44,000 home because the banks were much better at, looking at what people make versus what they'll loan you money on. I was working in the manufacturing area and started supervising a lot more people within that area. And then I'd gotten pregnant, and at the time that I was pregnant, Dawn and I had talked about how I wasn't going to work anymore once the baby was born, only because we had to leave at 6 o'clock in the morning, and then we didn't get home till 6 o'clock at night. And I said, well, this is no way to have a family if I'm going to be gone that many hours of the day. As I was at home, now becoming, a stay-at-home mom, and, having this cute little girl, bundle of joy, but she slept a lot. I found out that they were having some issues in the manufacturing area, and I told my husband, I said, well, why don't you just bring some of the assembly work home with you? As things evolved, all of a sudden, they were giving me more work, and then they're saying if you want to hire someone, because if I built product out in the Inland Empire or Corona area, it could be built not as expensively as in Orange County. So one thing led to another. I'm carrying around a 9-month-old, looking for now a place because I need more space than what I can do in my living room of my home. And I'm renting a facility, and I grow from, actually my sister was my first employee, so it was my sister and myself, and I had 20 women that worked for me in this assembly. And I thought it was important to have them have their children with them, because I really wasn't planning on working after I had my kids, but as long as I knew they were going to work with me and going home with me and I could see them any time of the day, then that was okay to keep working that way. So I had the business for 20 years. I had 3 children. I had an on-site daycare. Then I ended up selling the business because actually my husband, I became more of his personal assistant, and I thought between my own business, between raising my kids as well as being his personal assistant, and he wanted me with him all the time to go traveling, I didn't feel like I was doing the job that I should do at my business. So I sold it, and then I spent the next 13 years just catering to him, basically. It was an international company. It was considered the Cadillac in what it built, because we had offices in Singapore, Dubai, Ireland, England, and then the main office was here. We were very successful, and we got up to 35 years of marriage, and he went off on a trip that he normally goes on a couple times a year. I usually go once with him, and he would go once, usually on his own. And when he was on this trip, he made several phone calls, and it wasn't unusual for him to go on these trips because, as I said, we've been doing this for years and doing this traveling. So he went to visit the office in Singapore. He'd called me, and we had talked at different times about maybe buying an apartment for investments or something, because we did go there and it looked like a good place to invest some money. And out of the blue, he said, I think we're going to buy an apartment here. He goes, I found one. And I said, what? You found an apartment? He goes, yeah. I think we're also going to sell the business. And I said, you're going to sell the business? That doesn't make any sense to me. With that one trip, the decision for the business to be sold, and unbeknownst to me at that time, he fell in love with this girl that he spent 3 days with. 3 days. So it was a really very difficult thing for me when I knew right away, within the first week he came back, I said, something's wrong. Something is not right, because I knew him that well. He tells me he meets this girl who's 23. She's a prostitute in a bar, and she knows how much money because he spent 2 days taking her shopping. So, I said to him, you went against all of your rules. I said, how can you not see that this is so wrong and all she wants you for is your money? You're a 58-year-old man. Your daughters are older than this girl. He basically fell in love with some foreign young 23-year-old girl, and our marriage was over probably within, I could say, 3-4 months. And my kind of line to him was, you're telling me that this girl has become that important to you, and you've spent a total of maybe 36 hours with this girl, and you're willing to jeopardize our relationship over this girl? And that is honestly what happened. He would not let it go. The phone calls started coming in, and the emails I knew he started making, and then I saw Western Union money that was being wired to her for her sick grandmother. So when I started noticing charges that I'm not a Louis Vuitton girl, and I'm not a Tiffany's girl, and like I said, Western Union, so I started seeing all these charges come through. And he was starting to do this. I'm here 3 or 4 weeks, and then he was gone 2 weeks, and then back and forth. And he was always trying to give me a little, string of, I'm just going there, I'm just finalizing, or, I really want us to work it out. Just be patient when I get back. And for some reason in my heart of hearts, I knew that wasn't going to happen. So he went to get on the airplane, and I had kind of gone through some different charges, and I said, done. Went to the bank accounts, went in, and I split everything down. I went down, took all our savings, took the checking account, and when I went to divide them 50-50, if I saw that there was an amount of money that might be, whatever, 60, 70 cents, if it gets down to that, no, I gave him the extra, because I didn't want to ever be told that I took more than I should have. So when he got to Singapore and he was doing, some banking stuff and trying to get some bills and stuff paid, I get this email of how outrageous it was that I went in and I took 50% of all the money out of the checking account and the savings account, and the least I could have done is told him that. We had charges for, like I say, Louis Vuitton. We had charges for airline tickets going back and forth to Vietnam. We had charges for, obviously, hotels. And also, every time he would get on the airplane, he was taking half of my money to be on first class airplane, which is like $12,000 every time you go back and forth. I'm going to take what is mine, and you can have what is yours, and you can spend as much as you want to on this girl and flying back and forth, but I'm going to protect what I have. You can waste away your money, but I'm going to protect what I have. And at the same time that this is happening, then they're going through this plan of selling the company. So it just seemed like everything just went upside down, and it happened, I would say, within 2 months. He said he had to separate from me. He couldn't take being around me anymore because I was absolutely crazy. I didn't know what happened to my life. It was like I got hit by a freight train. Bought a place in Singapore, and he moved probably within 5 months. Well, I felt extremely alone because, I made him my whole life. All the children were grown out. We were starting to have grandchildren. So we had 3 grandchildren at that particular time. We've had 4 more. Your children are doing their own thing, and then when your life is so focused on one person, and it wasn't just that, because the business got sold too. So for me, the sale of the business was also a part of my life, that these people that I worked with for over 35 years, it was like losing a family, another family, a huger family, friends that you were connected with. So it was just like so many pieces of what our life was just, it was not there anymore. I was kind of struggling with trying to figure out, what I need to do for me now, because I was never about me. It was always about my family. And actually, I feel like in some ways I put my husband before even my children, because I was afraid if I didn't, that he would leave me. But the reality is, it didn't matter what I was going to do. He was still going to leave me based on what he wanted to do and what he needed in his life. We were just there until he didn't need us anymore. It was a very dark place. And then when meeting you and hearing about the second Saturday, I think if I would have had known about second Saturday, it would have helped me by knowing I wasn't alone in that struggle. I was in a better place financially, but that was it. I mean, all the other pieces are so important too. And if I could have known that I had other women that I could have talked to, or felt like I wasn't, again, all alone in this struggle of feeling, what did I do wrong? I'm worthless. It could have helped me a lot sooner. Just this financial burden that some of these women, they feel like they don't have. They don't have rights. They don't have rights. And I'm not really sure why we as women have our men make us feel like we don't have any rights, when we do. We have as much right and equal rights as they do. But they have a way of putting fear or fright into us. And I think that's the biggest part of divorce for, I think, most women, is them realizing that they have as much in the way of rights and ability to make their stance and get what they deserve to have. So it took me a while just to come to terms with what happened to my life, because we were in our golden years. We were financially set, our children were married, beautiful grandkids coming. What more can you want? And all of a sudden it's like, okay, now I got to rewrite my story, because my story that I wrote, that I thought I was living, is no longer there. I think once the divorce was final, I think that also helped to get you on the other side of that. And now I realize how much he smothered me in my ability to be creative, or my ability to even be with my family and my grandchildren. He would make me feel guilty, like he wasn't as important as my grandchildren were. Well, guess what? He's not. My grandchildren are more important, and I'm really enjoying this, because I can come and go as I please. I make decisions, and I don't have to be second guessing. They're my decisions, and I don't have to ask someone else for permission or what do you think. So I'm really getting very settled into this new life. I'm independent. I know who I am. We did everything together. We played golf together, because he didn't have friends. I was his friend, and that's what he would say through our few times of therapy, that he thought we could work this out. She's my best friend. She's my best friend. Well, I'm not your best friend anymore, and I'm not going to go play golf with you. And I learned to ride motorcycles, and I did a lot of things just because I thought that's what you do. When you love someone and you're going to be with them forever, you want to share with those things that you can enjoy doing together. And we also did this amateur racing. He loved race cars. And what I think now? I don't need just one man for that. I can have one to go ride motorcycles with. I can have one to play golf with. I can have one to go out to dinner with. I mean, who needs one man? You can have several of them.